Today in the video, I'm going to show you how to make your own wooden tools. These are some of the tools I use mostly on my videos. And I really like these tools. And there are some tools that are better than others. And most of you guys notice that I keep using the same tools over and over. In this video, I'm going to concentrate on just wooden tools. These I bought from Sculpture House a very long time ago. And I want to show you each of these and why and how we're going to be making it. First up, this is a very interesting tool because it's pretty flat and I like this kind of flatness. You can make a variety of these tools that have just smaller flat edges and it works really great. But on the other side, it always helps to have two sides with different tools. It's a curved edge, you can see that. That's the important thing about these water sculpting tools. You want this kind of curved edge. And it's really nice to kind of hold and grip. It's small, very easy. The other tool that I use often is this. This is a medium-sized tool, but we are also going to be making a large tool, but it's the same sort of thing. Let's look at this. This is from Sculpture House. I think this tool might cost you about $20-something, so it's very expensive. This is the largest I have. So when you look at the side here, you see the curved edge. That's the important part. This doesn't have to be as nice as it is. You know, they spend quite a bit of time on it. And as you go this way, it tapers off and rounds off because you're going to need a ferrule. And unfortunately, I don't know where to get these larger ferrules. You can get them from Hobby Lobby, it's slightly smaller. And then this is a wire that's very difficult to get, but what you can get, and I've seen used, is a bicycle spoke. You can get arrow bicycle spokes that are flat, and then I'm going to show you how to notch these out. Another tool we're going to be making is this. Now this one doesn't have the wire loops on the both sides because they usually break. That's the problem. Like, we're going to be making tools that are better than the ones you buy. So this is just a handle with two loop tools on each side, and we are going to be making a couple of these. So when you look at the shape, it's like round, bigger in the middle, tapers off to the sides, and it's fairly easy to make, but we are going to be making a few of these. So this is the tool I like to use most often. It's a round and it's a small version, but it's the exact same sort of tool. So it's flat on one side, but it's kind of curved up. This is the business end of the tool. This is where you're going to do most of your modeling. And on the other side, it's curved. But on the other side, you have this. This is broken. I've been repairing it. These ferrules tend to break all the time. And I'm going to also show you how to make your own wire. The wire is very important, but it's very difficult to do right. So you see there's an angle, it's not flat, and depending if you're left-handed or right-handed, you might want it the opposite way. So let's get started on making some of these tools. This is the wood we'll be using. This is oak. Oak is pretty nice, but this is even better. That's cherry. So you can make it out of whatever wood that you have. You can even make it out of like wood flooring. This is firewood that I have for the winter. Oak's easier to carve than cherry, but cherry is going to give you a really good tool. So in order to make this, you kind of have to visualize it. In a way, it's sculpting in wood. So if I'm going to make this tool, obviously I need to kind of size it up and take a pencil and kind of determine where is it going to be. This can be used for like 2 or 3 tools if you're careful with the amount of waste. So that's one. And now we're going to take this oak. Oak is a lot easier. So one of the things I've found is that a nice vise like this helps quite a bit. And I have this machine here with a carving wheel. This is for wood sculpture. and it works pretty well. So here's the wheel, and when you plug it in, it should be pretty good. So this is our first thing. You're gonna have to wear some gloves and a mask because you don't want to be breathing in all of this stuff. We're gonna take our oak. I am working around and getting that nice round shape. It takes some time to do this. So I'm just going to fast forward and get to the roundness. Now we are on the belt sander. I have it turned upside down. It's kind of like a very rough belt. So let's do this. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to make my favorite tool, which is this. It's a scoop. I already have the block shaped, but it's too big. So what I want to do is see if I can cut it in half. Just there we go. So now that I have it more or less a little flat, determine the side that is facing up. And now we're going to start curving it. So right about here, I'm going to start removing this. Now we got the curved edge here. We still have a lot to remove. So it's going to be like this. Usually I just kind of eyeball it, but you could take a pencil and draw in where you want to cut. All right, so now I'm going to reverse it, and in the back of your tool, it's going to be absolutely round. So one side is just more for holding and making it look and feel good. So this part, we're actually going to smooth it all out. pretty much done. The only thing that we have to do now is stain it, and perhaps just the oak you can stain, but the cherry, the wood looks so nice that it's not even worth it. You can do a lot of stuff with it, burnish it or whatever, but this is what I usually tend to do. You just have to measure this side to put a wire tool. And I do have a couple of ferrules, and then I'm going to show you guys in another video how to make the wire end tool, because it's very useful to have the round for the wood for modeling, and then having a wire tool for scraping. Today in the video, I'm going to show you how to make your own wooden tools. These are some of the tools I use mostly on my videos. And I really like these tools. And there are some tools that are better than others. And most of you guys notice that I keep using the same tools over and over. In this video, I'm going to concentrate on just wooden tools. These I bought from Sculpture House a very long time ago. And I want to show you each of these and why and how we're going to be making it. Okay, so we have 3 tools we just made, but we're not done. So we got the round one that's going to double like this. The only reason I kept it really large at the ends is because my ferrules are a little bit different. That's the metal part that crimps in the wire. And then we have this one and this one. This one's absolutely my favorite tool. Very high quality stuff. But we're not done. So you need to take some sort of rasp, kind of feel around and make sure that it's really smooth, especially this part. This part has to be really nice without any texture. Keep it really nice and smooth. So I'm just going to take this rasp and I'm just going to go around the entire shape of this. And this way I'm going to finesse the shape of it. It's very sharp too. Like this is a much higher quality wood than the ones that you would get at a store. So take great care. You know, it is kind of cool just building your own sculpting tools. I never realized it, but now I've been doing my own because if you buy it from Sculpture House, Sculpture House has got some of the best tools I've ever seen, but they are very expensive. So learn to make your own tools. And the best part is that you might spend like a week building tools out of like 10 years. So it's not really like a big deal. And you're going to get much better tools if you do them on your own. This is really beautiful wood too. You might want to like play around with different woods, but you definitely want a hardwood for sculpting, especially with water-based sculpture, because the water is going to get inside the wood and you don't want it to mold and stuff. So after this, we're going to put a coating on it to help it. All right, so now take some sandpaper, and usually I do this like when I'm watching a show or whatever, or just bored. And I like to make it as smooth as possible. I want this to feel really good on your hands. There's a lot of videos on YouTube making wire tools, scraping tools with music wire, and it's guitar wire. And I've done that before, but the problem is when you use it on water-based clay, it rusts and breaks. So the wood tools, it's the type of thing that they will never go bad. These tools are extremely durable, but the wire tools, like most of these, like as you can see, they have fallen off, broken off, rusted off, and that's the reason I started to want to build my own, is because the wire stuff just tends to break. This is the oak. It's a lot softer, and I will use this to get the ferrules in there. These are some other tools that I have. This is the ferrule that I'm going to be using. It's just a bunch of brass pipes, and that's actually a pretty good size. I'm just going to take it out, put it here. So I'll just taper it off a little bit. You can get the brass pipes from Hobby Lobby. There we go. Oak cuts a whole lot better than cherry, that's for sure. So that would be a ferrule. And of course, it's going to have the wire like that, but I'm not going to do the wire just yet. We might have to cut like a little bit of a slit on the wood after we stain it, but that's pretty much the right size for that. And it fits on this one, so boom. So that's that. And I'm just gonna, It's a lot of work just for a tool, but there's going to be a certain amount of satisfaction knowing that you're sculpting with your own tools. For the final wood protection, this is what I'm going to use. This is like an oil-based ultimate polyurethane. I actually use this on my front door, and it's really good. It's also very expensive. This is not going to let any water get into the wood, so it's going to stay a whole lot better or whatever. I'm just going to let that dry. Put this other end. This is just one very easy way of getting the polyurethane in here. With the oak, it actually is better to stain it because it's not that nice of a color. And of course, you want to clean everything out. Don't leave like globs of this polyurethane. And that's pretty much it. Now the next step is simply waiting for it to dry. And in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to make the wire tools so you can make your own scraper. So now that you have all your tools made, the next step is just letting it dry. You can use them after they dry, after 24 hours with the polyurethane. So that's pretty much it for this video, how to make some wooden tools. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. All right, guys, today we are going to be doing a little bit of the wire end tools for sculpture. And these are some of the supplies you're going to need. You're going to need some, you can get these from Hobby Lobby. They're the K&S Precision Metals. They are kind of expensive, the metals. You can use this as the ferrules if you want. It's about $5. And there is a diameter, but just kind of, I'll go by this. You could also go at Home Depot. And in the past, I've made different types of tools and very cheaply made tools. For example, what I have here is a pencil, and I simply just put a piece of wire at the end, and then I glued it in. I kind of drilled it into where the graphite was. I have used pens as the tool holder, but you know, these actually work really well because all you have to do is remove the insides of the pen and then put your favorite wire tool in there. And this is a bicycle spoke. It's a narrow bicycle spoke, and it's got the serrated edges. So I'll be making that as well. But I do like this. It's very cheap to make. The cheapest, less work possible that I've ever found. They fit pretty well in the hands, but the downside is that they don't give you a good feel. You know, that's something that as a sculptor you want like a good feel. For the wire end loop, you're gonna need piano wire, and this is $2. So it's not very expensive, and it comes with 1, 2, and 3. I have a few of these available, and they're different sizes. So these are the ones you're gonna be using. And these piano wires are only good for making small to medium tools. There are other metals that you can use for larger tools, such as bicycle spokes. I tend to use quite a few of those. And there are the Aero bicycle spokes that work really well. If you look online on YouTube, you'll find a lot of sculptors that do this. They'll take the large brass from a Hobby Lobby thing, and then they'll just cut it's acoustic guitar wire, which is kind of nice. It's got this serrated edge. The only reason I think that this is not a very permanent solution is that this breaks. It's way too flexible. I do like it, and I like the texture it creates. It's already got like this spiral around. But the problem is that this will eventually rust and break very easily. That's why if you're going to do this, you want to pick a harder wire, and that's the piano wire that works really well. You could make a series of tools like this, but I find that if you can cut little portions of this and put it into a wooden tool, then you have the flexibility of just kind of flipping your tool this way and then using this part, which is the most important part, at least for water sculpture, water-based clay. This is my favorite type of tool. So I have made a couple of these wooden tools, and I absolutely love the shape of these tools. And because I made this, it's got a different feel to it. But this is from Sculpture House. You can expect to pay like $15 to $18 for one of these. So you might as well just make your own, because really it's just this shape that you need for water-based sculpture and even oil-based sculpture. I really like this. So here is the ferrule wire, and it's a little bit larger than the one from Hobby Lobby. And you can just put it here, and then we are going to be making the wire now. This is from Sculpture House, and if you look at this, there's quite a bit that goes into this. First, it's a round wire, and when it gets to the top, it's flat, because that allows you to scrape the clay a whole lot better. It can't be round. So it's a multi-step process to making this. These pliers will be good enough to cut and to aid you in making. In order to aid you, you're going to need a different set of pliers like this, and you just need some sort of like needle nose pliers. There are jewelry making pliers that you can get. I don't have any of those, so I just kind of use this. Opened up 2 packages. This is a much smaller gauge for smaller tools, and then this one is a thicker gauge for medium-sized tools. This, which is nice and flat, and I try to like measure it. You want to have quite a bit of length here. So I'll just take this, and this is a much harder wire to kind of bend. So I'll make this part flat, and now I'll put this here, and I'll do the same thing on the other side, and try to kind of bend it this way a bit. Now you have this shape. That shape is pretty good if you're intending on making things flat, but if you want to make this shape, what I tend to do, and usually, it's never perfect, but I'll grab it with the needle nose, kind of bend that. So now we have that shape, and then I'll grab a hold of this, I'll kind of separate it, and now what we have to do is kind of push this down just a bit. And if I do this, I don't want to do too much on it, but you see it's starting to take that shape. And it's curving this part a little bit. We don't want that, so I'm going to grab it by this side, just kind of push it down a bit. So now we have a very close shape to this one. And at this point, we want to cut it right here. It's a little bit hard to cut using the pliers, but there we go. So that's our first shape. I think it's very successful. So that's pretty good. I'm pleased with that. To give it a more elegant feel, what you can do is just kind of grab it by the edge here and just pull the side like that. So that way it has a different shape when you put it in. So we're creating a bunch of shapes like this. Try to play around and create your own shape. I definitely like the R type of shape, the reverse R, and it works out really well. So I'm probably going to create just a few more out of the thicker gauge. The thicker gauge, the one that comes in the 3 series, is better than the extremely small wire. You're going to need a Dremel. At least the Dremel works best, or you can use a file. And this is like a grinder for metal. Works with wood as well. So with the original, it's round and then it gets flat. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to take this tool, for example, and I'm going to run it slowly just right here on the top part and flatten this out. What this does, it creates a better way of cutting the clay. You don't need it to be sharp, but you need it to be flat in the top. If it's too round, you're just kind of rubbing the surface. And don't take out too much. What you need is to create a series of teeth. The way you're going to do it is using a Dremel and these metal cutting discs. You want to be able to just put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teeth on there, and hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. So there goes one. And we have teeth on this side. Sometimes we don't want that. Sometimes you just have to kind of go by feel. I think I might have to cut just a little bit more. This is a smaller wire gauge. That's it for the serrated edge part. The next step is really putting this tool onto a handle. So I'm going to do another video in the future on how to do that. I'll be putting it into some wooden tools using a ferrule and or some of the brass tubing. But I really like these serrated tools. They work really well, they're very durable, and they're better than the guitar wire tools that you would often do. The guitar tools are great, but they tend to rust out and break, and if you use water clay, these are much better. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back. I wanted to show you some of the tools I like using. And of course, I am making quite a few of these tools, and in previous videos I showed you how to make them. But the one thing I want to show you, what I found that works as a ferrule, are these electrical, and they're called crimp sleeves. They're made out of copper, and there's 50 of them in this package, and I believe it's like $7, so it's like very inexpensive. And even though they're not the perfect shape, they do work in this sort of application. So these copper ferrules, you can find them at Home Depot, and for about $7, they're inexpensive, and there's a lot of them. So these are actually much better than a lot of the ferrules. The only downside is that it's got this hump here, but it's not that big of a deal. So what you take this is that, in a way, it kind of looks good to have this sort of shape here. Now, the wooden tools that I made are not the best looking, but when you look at this one that I bought from Sculpture House, the ferrule broke, the wire broke. That's something that happens quite a bit with these sculpting tools, is that all of this stuff tends to rust and break, so you need different wires. So in a previous video, I showed you how to make the wire and make the teeth on it and everything. So now, in this video, I'm going to show you all the tools that I really like using, but what we're going to do is crimp this in. And a lot of times you don't even need to crimp it, because I'm going to be using some glue. You need some really strong glue to kind of hold all of this together. This one's not that successful, and I'm going to have to flatten this out because I don't like that as much. So what I'll do is I'll take some of the glue, this super glue, and I'll put it, you know, I really hate like using super glue. It's like you buy it and then you use it a little bit, you put it back, and it just stops being effective. So here we go, it's finally getting out here.
So there's a little bit of the glue. Now I'm going to put some of the glue on the stick or on the wooden tool, just a bit. There we go. Now it's sliding in. There we go. So now I got the tool in there. And what I'm going to do is, if you have a crimper, all the better. Or you can just use some pliers to kind of push it. That's going to push the metal together. Here's another tool that I like using. These are a little bit more expensive to make because this itself is kind of expensive. So for this, I'm going to remove this tool and I'm going to take this super glue and just kind of pour it in first. This one you will need to crimp it just a bit. There we go. Too much. Okay, so now this is an acoustic wire tool and it works well with the oil-based clay. And now I'm just going to take that, put it in. So for this one, I will crimp it just in the middle. This one definitely needs it, but I'm not going to do it for the other ones. There we go. There we go. So it just puts a little bit of a thing there. And now with the super glue, it should hold it pretty well. And on the other side, the one thing you should try and do is like make them face the right way. You don't want this to be facing that way. So this is a different wire tool, and it's a pretty decent one. So I'm going to put the glue down. I really hate using super glue. Okay. I put in quite a bit. Come on. And now I'm going to take this. Make sure you know which way it's facing. And just kind of, I hate that. Super glue is such a pain. I hate that. Okay. Because I'm trying not to get it on my hands here. Okay, so now face it the right way. Don't get it on your hand. And now we'll crimp this. You know, the brass that you get at Hobby Lobby like this, it is pretty nice. It does look nice. And what I found is that it's actually pretty substantial. This brass itself is flexible in a way, but it does look good. It's like it looks like a substantial tool because it's very easy to create one of these. So that's done. Let's move to the next one. Here's another tool that I made, and I put some epoxy. You could make these tools just using pen holders, and even though it's plastic, this is very easy. Like it's probably one of the easiest tools you could possibly make. There's no cutting. You just remove the pen ink, just kind of slide it out, and then put whatever tool that you want in there, and it works really well. So I might do more of these in the future. You see how much I am putting? I'm putting quite a bit. And make sure you kind of move this around so it glues on the outside. There we go. And now we're just going to slide it. There we go. So I had to shave a little bit here, but this is that stuff that I made. I like it. I like that it feels kind of good in the hands. The shape is not perfect, but neither am I. Take some time to do this. So here's a paintbrush, an old paintbrush, and I just took it. The paintbrush sizes for this are almost perfect to fit these ferrules. So keep that in mind. It's quite a nice surprise. I thought it would be different. So here we go. Just put a little bit there, and the rest will go here. I might have to run out and get some glue. Okay. So I put in quite a bit, and now I'm just going to kind of move it around like that, twist it, and that's so the wire gets plenty of the glue. And now I'm just going to slide this back on the paintbrush. It's actually this way, okay. So if you keep it kind of far out like this, it's less flexible. I mean, it's more flexible, but it could potentially come out a lot easier, but it is nice to have a little bit more space. Here's another technique, is using just a number 2 pencil. Surprisingly, this is really good. Now, this one's a little bit nicer. Like a new one is a whole lot better than with a sharp thing. You just have to shave off a little bit here, and that's pretty much it. Actually, if you sharpen the pencil, it'll create enough that you can push in the ferrule. I was very surprised. That's a great way of making a tool. Yeah, you know, these tools with the pencil, they're good for doing small details, but or for medium work. And if you really need tools to really get in there and work it, you're going to have to definitely reinforce this. But for the type of sculptures that I do, these wooden tools, the hardwoods, are what I would use for doing any heavy lifting. Yeah, the pencils, I think they're very good because I like the wood, especially the round ones. And you know, when you look at this is just a number 2. It's made out of pine, so it's very cheap, but it's coated already with paint, so that's not going to really damage it very much. I still think this is going to be a much more durable thing, the plastic, but it doesn't feel as good in the hand. Eventually I'm going to reinforce all of this with more glue after it dries. In this session, making these tools, I really like the use of pencils. They give you like the less amount of work for making tools possible. Of course, you don't have the cool wooden sections, but I think it's a good idea. So I hope you guys enjoy this little video on the ferrules. Again, this is a crimping sleeve made out of copper, and it's very inexpensive, so you guys can just buy them at Home Depot, Lowe's, or any hardware store, and that's going to be good for making ferrules for your sculpture.